What if the greatest treasure of your life is not somewhere far away? What if it is already close to you? Maybe inside your own heart. Maybe hidden near the very place where your journey began. But to recognize it, you may first have to cross a desert. You may have to lose what feels safe. You may have to meet fear, love, failure, silence, and your own soul. Have you ever had a dream and then became afraid of that very dream? We dream of doing something greater. We dream of leaving the ordinary behind. We dream of becoming someone more honest, more alive, more complete. And then, almost immediately, our own mind begins to whisper, "Forget it. It is not possible. Stay where you are. Be grateful for what you already have." Paulo Coelho's The Alchemist begins from this quiet battle inside the human heart. It is the story of a shepherd boy named Santiago, a dream, a desert, a treasure, and a journey that happens not only across the world, but deep within the soul. But if you think this book is only about following your dreams, then you have only touched the surface. The Alchemist is not simply saying, "Go after what you want." It is asking something much deeper. What if your dream is not just a destination? What if your dream is a mirror? What if it is showing you who you really are and who you are still afraid to become? Santiago begins his journey searching for treasure. But slowly we understand something more important. He is not only looking for gold, he is looking for himself. And perhaps that is the deepest secret of the alchemist. Sometimes, before life gives us the treasure, it first makes us become the kind of person who can recognize it. The shepherd and the dream. Santiago was a young shepherd in the fields of Spain. His life was simple. He traveled with his sheep. He slept beneath the open sky. He knew the smell of grass, the sound of wind, the silence of night, and the rhythm of ordinary days. His parents had wanted him to become a priest, but Santiago wanted something else. He wanted to travel, not because he was greedy, not because he wanted fame, but because something inside him felt restless. He wanted to see the world. He wanted to know what existed beyond the hills he already knew. Then one night, he had a dream. In the dream, he was near the pyramids of Egypt. A child appeared and told him that if he went there, he would find a hidden treasure. The dream came more than once, and that is when it began to disturb him, because a dream that returns is no longer easy to ignore. Most of us know this feeling. A thought keeps coming back. A desire refuses to die. A small voice inside us keeps asking, "What if there is more?" But instead of listening, we often bury it. We call it childish. We call it impossible. We call it unrealistic. But dreams do not always disappear just because we silence them. Sometimes they wait. Sometimes they return in another form. A conversation, a book, a loss, a strange moment of stillness. Coelho calls this inner calling a personal legend. A personal legend is not just a goal. It is the story your soul was meant to live. It is the person you have the possibility to become. But here's the tragedy. Many people do recognize their personal legend at some point in life. They feel it. They sense it. They know there is something they are meant to do. But then fear enters. Comfort enters. The opinions of others enter. And slowly, the dream is placed somewhere deep inside the heart. Not destroyed, just postponed. And sometimes, a postponed dream can become heavier than a failed one. The Old King. Santiago's first turning point comes when he meets a mysterious old man. The man calls himself the King of Salem. His name is Melchizedek. At first he seems like an ordinary old man, but there is something unusual about him. He speaks as if he knows Santiago's heart. He speaks as if he has been waiting for this meeting. The old king tells Santiago that every person has a personal legend, a unique path, a story only that person can live. Then he says one of the most famous lines in the book. When you want something with all your heart, the universe helps you achieve it. This line is often misunderstood. It does not mean that life becomes easy just because you want something. It does not mean that desire alone creates miracles. It means that when a person becomes truly committed to a purpose, their eyes change. They begin to notice signs. They begin to recognize opportunities. They begin to move with a different kind of attention. The world may not become simple, but the person becomes awake. The old king also warns Santiago about the greatest lie in the world. The lie that at some point, we lose control of our lives, and fate begins to control everything. This is a painful truth, because many people do not abandon their dreams all at once. They abandon them quietly, one excuse at a time, one delay at a time, one compromise at a time, until one day they call their fear wisdom. Santiago has a safe life. He has his sheep. He has routine. He has a girl he likes. He has enough reasons to stay. And this is where the real test begins. Because people do not only fear failure, sometimes they fear success. Success demands change. Success asks us to leave behind the version of ourselves that was comfortable with excuses. Santiago must choose. Stay with the life he knows, or step into the unknown. He sells his sheep, and he begins his journey toward Egypt. Tangier. Santiago crosses into a new world. He arrives in Tangier, Morocco. The city is full of noise, color, movement, and unfamiliar faces. He does not know the language. He does not understand the streets, but he still carries hope. Then, almost immediately, he is deceived. A man gains his trust, and then steals all his money. In a single moment, Santiago loses everything he had brought for his journey. He is alone in a strange city. No money, no friends, no clear way forward. This is the moment where many people turn back. This is the moment where the mind says, "See, you should never have tried. You should have stayed where you were safe." Santiago feels this pain. He remembers his sheep. He remembers his homeland. He remembers the life he could have kept. But then something important happens inside him. He realizes he can choose how to see himself. He can see himself as a victim of betrayal, or he can see himself as an adventurer searching for treasure. The same event, two different meanings. And this is one of the most powerful lessons in the book. Life will hurt everyone. Loss will come. Disappointment will come. People may betray us. But what defines us is not only what happens. It is the meaning we give to what happens. Santiago decides not to return. He begins working at a crystal shop. Not because it was his dream, but because sometimes the road to a dream passes through places that look nothing like the dream. The crystal merchant is one of the most quietly painful characters in The Alchemist. He owns a small shop in Tangier. The shelves are filled with crystal glasses, bowls, and delicate objects. But the shop feels as if time has stopped. The merchant has a dream. He wants to travel to Mecca. It is a sacred dream. A dream he has carried for years, but he has never gone. When Santiago asks him why, the merchant gives an answer that reveals something very human. He says that if he goes to Mecca, then his dream will be fulfilled. And after that, what will he live for? This is heartbreaking, because the merchant has not kept his dream alive in order to follow it. He has kept it alive in order to survive his ordinary life. The dream has become a decoration inside his heart. Something beautiful, something distant, something safe because it remains untouched. Many people do this. They do not completely kill their dreams. They preserve them. They say, one day, someday, when the time is right. But sometimes, someday, is just fear wearing a softer name. Santiago begins working in the shop. He cleans the crystal. He brings new ideas. He helps the merchant sell tea in crystal glasses. The shop begins to change. Customers return. Life enters the place again. And Santiago earns enough money to go back home if he wants. He could return to Spain. He could buy more sheep. He could live comfortably. But now he is different. He has seen what happens to a dream that is never lived. He has seen a man who stayed safe, but paid for that safety with the quiet sadness of an unlived life. So Santiago chooses to continue. He chooses the desert. The caravan and the desert. Santiago joins a caravan crossing the Sahara. The desert is vast beyond imagination. It is silent, but not empty. It is dangerous, but also deeply alive. There are tribal wars. There is thirst. There is uncertainty. There is the endless horizon. In the caravan, Santiago meets an Englishman. The Englishman is searching for an alchemist. He studies books, symbols, and ancient wisdom. He believes the truth is hidden in written knowledge. Santiago respects him, but he begins to learn in a different way. The Englishman reads books. Santiago reads the desert. He watches the wind. He observes the flight of birds. He listens to silence. And slowly, he begins to understand what Coelho calls the language of the world. This is not a language of words. It is a language of attention, a movement of wind, a pattern in the sand, a feeling in the heart, a moment that seems ordinary, but carries meaning. The desert teaches Santiago that life is always speaking, but most people are too loud inside to hear it. We are surrounded by noise, fear, distraction, opinions, urgency, regret. But when a person becomes quiet enough, the world begins to reveal itself differently. The desert does not explain. It simply exists. And in its silence, Santiago begins to hear his own heart. At the oasis, Santiago meets Fatima. She is not written as a simple romantic interest. She represents something deeper, a love that does not imprison, a love that understands destiny. When Santiago sees Fatima, something in him changes. He feels that perhaps this is what he has been searching for. Maybe love is the treasure. Maybe he should stop here. Maybe the journey has already given him enough. But Fatima does not ask him to stay. She understands the desert. She understands that some people must travel in order to become whole. She tells Santiago that if he abandons his journey because of her, then one day his heart may blame her for his unfinished dream. This is one of the most mature ideas in the book. Love is not possession. Love is not fear disguised as care. Love is not holding someone so tightly that they forget who they are. True love gives courage. True love does not make the soul smaller. It allows the beloved to become complete. Fatima's love is powerful because it does not cage Santiago. It trusts him. It waits without turning, waiting into weakness. And this teaches us something important. If love pulls you away from your soul, it is not love. It is attachment. But if love gives you the strength to become who you were meant to be, then it becomes part of your personal legend. Santiago leaves the oasis, not because he loves Fatima less, but because he now understands that real love does not stand against destiny. It walks beside it, even from a distance. The Alchemist. Then Santiago meets the Alchemist. The Alchemist is not a magician. He is not powerful because he performs tricks. He is powerful because he understands life. He understands nature. He understands the soul. He knows that the real purpose of alchemy is not simply turning metal into gold. The deeper purpose is transformation. Lead becomes gold, and a fearful human being becomes whole. This is why the alchemist becomes Santiago's guide. He does not give Santiago easy answers. He teaches him to listen more deeply. He teaches him to trust his heart. But he also warns him that the heart is not always simple. The heart can be afraid. The heart can complain. The heart can try to return to safety. But beneath all that noise, the heart also knows the truth. The alchemist shows Santiago that everything in the world is connected. The sand, the wind, the sun, the stars, the human soul. Nothing is separate. Everything belongs to one great language. And the more Santiago understands this, the more he changes. The alchemist does not make Santiago powerful. He helps Santiago recognize the power already hidden inside him. A true teacher does not replace your journey. A true teacher returns you to yourself. One of the most symbolic moments in the book comes when Santiago must face a terrifying test. He is captured by tribal warriors. To save his life, he must prove that he can turn himself into the wind. At first, this sounds impossible. And if we read it only literally, we may misunderstand the scene. This is not a superhero moment. It is not about magic. It is about surrendering fear. Santiago stands before the desert. He speaks to the wind. He speaks to the sun. He speaks to the soul of the world. And slowly, he realizes that he is not separate from creation. He is part of the same universe that created the desert, the wind, the stars, and the human heart. The miracle is not that he controls nature. The miracle is that he stops feeling separate from it. The wind rises, the sand moves, the storm surrounds him, but the real transformation is inside. Fear loses its power, and Santiago becomes still. This is one of the deepest truths in The Alchemist. Many times the world does not change. We change. The desert remains the desert. The wind remains the wind. But the person standing inside the storm becomes different. And when the inner world changes, the outer world is no longer seen the same way. The pyramids and the revelation. After a long journey, Santiago finally reaches the pyramids of Egypt, the place he saw in his dream, the place he believed would hold the treasure. He begins to dig. He digs with hope, with exhaustion, with all the weight of the journey behind him. But he finds nothing. Instead, robbers appear. They beat him. They mock him. And when Santiago tells them about his dream, one of the robbers laughs. He says that he too once had a dream about treasure buried in Spain, inside an abandoned church, under a sycamore tree. But he says he was not foolish enough to cross the desert because of a dream. And in that moment, everything becomes clear. The church, the tree, the place from the beginning. The treasure was not in Egypt. It was back where Santiago's journey had started. At first, this may seem ironic, even cruel. Why would he have to cross the desert, suffer betrayal, work in a shop, find love, face death, and reach the pyramids, only to learn that the treasure was at home? But this is the heart of the book. If Santiago had never left, he would never have understood. He could have walked past that ruined church for the rest of his life and never recognized it. The treasure was always there. But Santiago was not always ready to see it. The journey did not create the treasure. The journey created the man who could find it. The real treasure. Santiago returns to the ruined church in Spain, the same place where he had slept, the same tree, the same stones, the same earth. But now everything is different. Not because the place has changed, because Santiago has changed. He digs beneath the sycamore tree. And there, he finds the treasure. Gold, jewels, material wealth. But by now, we understand that the gold is not the true ending. The true treasure is everything he became along the way. The courage he found from the old king. The strength he discovered after being robbed. The lesson he learned from the crystal merchant. The silence he heard in the desert. The love he received from Fatima. The wisdom he gained from the alchemist. The peace he found inside himself. All of this is worth more than gold. Because if he had found the chest at the beginning, he would have gained wealth. But he would not have gained himself. This is why every obstacle mattered. Every loss was a doorway. Every delay was a teacher. Every fear was guarding a deeper version of him. The treasure was real, but it was not the most important thing. The most important thing was the man Santiago had become. Our own personal legend. Now step away from Santiago for a moment. Look at your own life. There may be a dream inside you that you buried years ago. Maybe you called it impossible. Maybe you called it childish. Maybe you said the time had passed. Maybe you told yourself that life had become too busy. But perhaps the dream did not die. Perhaps it is only waiting for you to listen again. We all have a personal legend, a story only we can live. For one person, it may be art. For another, a business. For another, healing. For another, faith. For another, courage. For another, simply becoming honest with themselves. And we all meet our own versions of the old king. A person, a book, a sentence, a loss, a moment that reminds us we were meant for more than survival. We also meet Tangier, the place where things fall apart. We meet the crystal merchant inside ourselves, the part that wants to keep dreaming but is afraid to act. We meet the desert, the long, quiet season where nothing seems certain, but something inside us is changing. And if we are blessed, we meet a love like Fatima, a love that does not reduce us, a love that helps us become whole. The Alchemist stays with readers because it does not only tell us a story, it asks us a question. Have you abandoned your dream, or are you still willing to follow the voice that first awakened it? So the next time a dream rises inside your heart, do not silence it too quickly. Maybe it is not foolish. Maybe it is not random. Maybe it is the oldest part of your soul calling you back to the life you were meant to live. Remember Santiago. Remember the old king who reminded him of his personal legend. Remember the crystal merchant who kept his dream safe, but never lived it. Remember Fatima, who showed that true love gives freedom. Remember the alchemist, who taught that the real transformation happens within. And above all, remember this. Your dream may not be dead. It may only be waiting for you to hear it again. Your treasure may not be far away. It may be hidden behind an old fear, an unfinished prayer, a forgotten wish, a road you have been avoiding for years. But the journey is necessary, because the treasure does not always move. The person must change. And when a person changes, the same world begins to shine with a new meaning. So the real question is not, where is your treasure? The real question is, are you ready to become the person who can recognize it? The desert is still calling. The heart still knows. And the dream is still alive. Every human being carries a personal legend within them. The only question is, do you have the courage to awaken yours? Soul pages. The soul behind every book.